All right, the next part of the lesson, we're going to talk about solving our system of linear equations by substitution. So we want to use this method when it's easy to isolate one of the variables in one of the equations. Okay? So we're looking for if y has a or not just y, if one of the variables has a positive or a negative 1 in front of it, or if all the numbers are divisible by the same thing. So they would have to have a common factor. I'm going to let you kind of read through this list of instructions. I'm just going to start working through the problem. So when we look at 7, I'm going to pick one of the variables to solve for, and it's whichever one I think is the easiest. So when I'm looking at this, y is going to be, in the second equation, is going to be really easy to solve for. So that's going to be my first step. So to get this y by itself, I'm going to subtract the 2x. And then once it's by itself, we take this expression, so negative 2x plus 7, and we're going to substitute it into the y in the first equation. So we're going to plug it into that one. Okay. So that will look like 5x minus 3 times a quantity of negative 2x plus 7 equals 23. Okay. So now when I look at that, I have an equation with just x's in it. So that means that I'm just solving for x now. So I'm going to start by distributing. So negative 3 times negative 2x is a positive 6x. Negative 3 times 7 is negative 21 equals 23. So I'm going to combine like terms. So we're combining 5x and 6x. And at the same time, I'm going to add 21 over to the other side. So I would have 11x equals, and then 23 plus 21 is going to be 44. Divide by 11, and x is 4. So remember, our solution is a point. So we have the x value of our point, so now we have to find the y value. So once we get this answer, we're going to go back and we're going to pick either the first one, the second one, or the one that we changed, and we're going to substitute it in. So I'm going to pick this one that we changed because it's already solved for y, and that's what we're trying to find next. So I'm taking 4, and I'm substituting this back into this x right here, and that's going to help us find y. So y equals negative 2 times 4 plus 7. So simplifying, we would have y equals negative 8 plus 7, so y has to be negative 1. And again, we're going to write our final answer as a point. So the x always goes first, so that's 4, and then our y value is negative 1. So this is the point where these two lines would intersect if we were solving by graphing. Alright, so if we take a look at our next one, so I'm just going to draw kind of a line to separate these a little bit. So if you take a look at number 8, again, we're just picking the variable that's easiest to solve for. So this time, it's going to be the easiest to solve for x in our top equation. So I'm going to add the 7y to start with. So now we have x equals 7y plus 11. So I'm going to take this part of the expression and I'm going to substitute it into the x in the second equation. So the equation that we didn't solve for. We have to make sure that we're paying attention to where our things are located to, so that we don't always assume that x is first and y is second. So make sure you're really looking at your equations when you're solving these. So now if we substitute, we're going to have 4y plus 5 times a quantity of 7y plus 11 equals negative 23. So again, now I'm going to distribute. So 4y plus 35y plus 55 equals negative 23. So again, we're going to combine our variables, and we're going to move this number at the same time. So we're going to subtract. So 4 plus 35 is 39. Negative 23 minus 55 is going to be 78, and it's going to be a negative 78. And then we're going to divide by 39. So y equals -2. Okay, so now once we have that one, we substitute back in to find the next variable. So I'm going to take -2 and I'm going to use the equation that we solved for. So that's going to go back to this y. So x equals 7 times -2 plus 11. So 7 times -2 is -14, plus 11 will be -3. And then again, we're going to write our answer as a point. So x is always first. So this would be -3, and then our y was -2 as our final answer. And if you happen to work with variables that aren't x's and y's, when we write them as points, it's always assumed to be alphabetical order unless you're told otherwise. All right, one more. So again, we are just going to pick the one that's easiest to solve for. So in this case, the y in the first equation will be the easiest. And I'm just going to start by adding it to the other side. Again, So if we add it to the other side, we would have y equals 3x. And then I'm going to substitute my 3x into the y in the bottom equation, because that's the one I didn't solve for. So we'd have 4x plus 3 times 3x equals 26. Again, if we multiply, that will give us 9x. And we can combine like terms to get 13x. And then divide by 13. So x will be 2. And again, once we have our first variable, then we substitute. So again, I'm going to go back to this x. So I'm taking my answer and I'm substituting it back into one of these equations. And it doesn't matter which one you pick. All right, so if we substitute, we will have y equals 3 times 2. So that is going to be 6. And again, we are going to write our final answer as a coordinate. So that will give us 2, 6. Final answer.